Here we are.
Nope.
Back again.
Well, earlier. I don't think we've done a 7:15 in a long time.
Oh, it's been a while.
Yeah. Mike, I'm trying to move around because we don't usually do this time. And I've never had a window behind me. And the light is darkening me up here.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a window right there.
Yeah, that's the good window. I got one right there, but those there. I got to figure that out. Get another light or something. I have this light over here, but it's a shitty light.
You are lit very dramatically right now.
I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm trying to be laid back. It's August, for Christ's sake.
Oh, man. This is not giving laid back.
Take the hat off for a second. I'm curious what it does to the
Doesn't really do
the
it.
camera auto after it adjusts.
Definitely helps seem less dramatic.
Less dramatic? Should I go without the hat?
That might mess with all the hat heads in the chat that are
that
to you wearing.
Want to see what hat I'm wearing?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll put it on so they can see what hat I was wearing, and then I'll take it off. Are there hat heads in the chat?
Certainly, there's got to be a couple.
Yeah. We got an email from a hat head inviting me to a hat event or something. Dude, the hat community is fucking... There is a hat community. It's pretty wild. I've never been a member of the hat community, though I have a lot of hats.
Is it like a convention of some sort?
No, it's some guy that... there's like a lot of like people doing like smaller run custom hats that I think you can get permission to do. If you only make so many, you can use logos and stuff. So there's a custom hat thing in Philly later in June. I'll give them a shout out at some point. I just don't have it in front of me. I'm being dramatic.
Big time.
All right. Where's my stuff as I'm dramatic? The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. Hold on. I'm going to move all my stuff here. Is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS. And brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Nope. Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds.
There it is.
At some point, I'll get it right. Get yours at barkerbeds.com/Ricky. Ethos Support. Your customer support should not suck. Fix it at ethossupport.com/Ricky. And Adam Ksebe, the official realtor of the process, 302-864-8643, as well as Surfside, iced tea and vodka, 2 grams of sugar, 100 calories, no carbonation because iced tea should not have bubbles. On the show today, the Sixers have a contingent meeting with VJ Edgecombe. Also, they're going to work out Ace Bailey. Also, the Knicks are asking every team in the NBA for permission to interview their coach, and they all say no. The NBA Finals continue tonight, and our long-promised plan for the Sixers. So break this up into 2 pods. One pod, if Joel Embiid is not going to play anymore. The other pod, if Joel Embiid is going to play. This is the more depressing one. But interesting nonetheless. What if Joel Embiid is never healthy again? How should the Sixers operate? Now, speaking of health, Surfside has nothing to do with it, honestly.
Nope.
Aside from the fact that it's only 100 calories. But fun, Surfside, way up, way up. I'm not saying Surfside's not healthy. What I am saying is Surfside is excellent. Surfside iced tea and vodka is the official canned cocktail of the Ricky. It's the official canned cocktail of Philly sports. There's an afternoon Phillies game today. How many Surfsides do you think were at that game? Third game, Phil's Cubs. Probably a billion Surfsides. Everybody knows what's up. You know what's up. Get the iced tea, the green tea and vodka, the iced tea, lemonade, and vodka, any of the fantastic varieties you can drink. Get it wherever you get your canned cocktails. You got to be 21. Enjoy it responsibly. Drinksurfside.com if you can't find it near you. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
last forever.
Welcome to the Rights Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with the only coach that the Knicks have not asked for permission to speak to. That is one, Mike Levin.
Yeah, damn. Blouses lost in the playoffs yesterday.
Oh, but you're available then.
I am available now.
Yep.
I am available.
Just for the hat heads, I'm not wearing a hat because of the light, but CJ said the hat heads might want to see what hat I had on. I had my Apollo 11 hat on, which I believe is an Astros hat that they had at some point because of NASA in Houston there. So it doesn't say Astros anywhere on it, though.
Good.
Here I am.
I have still real disdain, lingering disdain for the Astros as a franchise.
Because of the World Series.
Well, because of the cheating.
Oh, the
scandal.
cheating.
Yeah, just to like that's. Yeah. I think that's like the biggest display of cheating I've ever seen in sports. Like, it's so much worse than steroids or.
Is it though?
I think so. Yeah.
You think it's worse than steroids?
I think by a lot. Yeah.
Why?
I mean, that is rather than like, hey, we are using this thing. I'm always been very like, I don't want to say like pro steroid, but anti like it's a huge deal. Right. I think these are professional athletes and anything they can do to get their bodies better and recover faster and heal and be able to do the amazing things that they do.
You think that's what steroids did to baseball players? It was
well. I mean, I think not at that time all the time, but like I guess I just don't give a shit. Like I guess it's just like if you want to lift crazy weights and be able to hit dingers, then like God bless you.
I don't hate.
To me, a bigger like coordinated like we have someone in center field that is doing a feed to the dugout. That when we hit this thing with the trash can, when saying what pitch it is, like that's such a clear and concise. This is cheating. We are loud, blinking cheating. That a team was doing that other teams weren't doing. I think that's just like, man, that sucks. And then to not be punished at all, I think is shitty.
Yeah, so Yankees fans hate them the most, I think. And when I was at FAN for a few years, I could see Yankees fans really fucking hate the Astros. I guess like baseball is so full of cheating. Like it is the most cheating sport there is. Like, you know, there was scuffing the baseballs, there's hiding stuff in your hat, there's all that kind of shit. It just seemed like a very new age version of cheating to me. Though I'm not like an anti-steroid guy or whatever. There has been like some romanticism of steroids in recent years, I think. And I think sometimes people don't understand like those steroids, like that was an era, those were not good for people. That was not good for you should read the article from Lyle Alzado about steroids. And they
I guess to me, it's like if you want to do that to yourself. So neither is like, you know, lifting weights 24 hours a day. Like, you know, I'm not saying like it's good and you should do it and kids should do it, whatever the fuck. But like I'm saying, as far as watching the game, like there's something kind of romantic about like, oh, I got some rosin on my hat and there's some funny greasy substance stuff. Like that's fun. That's like, oh, you're trying to get a little edge, whatever. But like, hey, the team has a coordinated, right. Like we have a video guy in the center field. And then he through some transmitter tells someone in the dugout, in the clubhouse,
what pitch you're gonna throw.
What pitch is coming, and then that person then hits a fucking trash can. It's like I hear you say it's new age, and I hear it on some level, but it's also like you fucking dorks. That's like the lamest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny, like steroids, people often think of the like Bonds. Like, yes, clear, Bonds was already good. Seeing Brady Anderson go from like 13 home runs to 52, that was kind of weird.
Cool. That's cool.
It's not cool.
It's funny. Brady Anderson hits 50 home runs a year. Like any sports fan over like 32 remembers like the Brady Anderson year. Like what a specific thing.
Well, look at Todd Hundley was a catcher for the Mets. Like you can look at his stats and go, oh, that's what he was doing steroids.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess the idea is like you still have to be so good.
Yes.
To be a baseball, like it's not just because you're significantly stronger doesn't make you like have better hand-eye coordination and like be able to like increase your baseball IQ and stuff.
Yeah.
But so to me it's just like I don't know. The dingers went further. Who cares?
It was definitely more fun to watch. I could tell you that. Okay, do you want to do the Embiid thing first, or do you want to do the other stuff first and the Embiid thing second?
There's the other thing is the VJ Edgecombe interview.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so Jake Fisher, our very own Jake Fisher, reported, quote, "The prime candidate at number 3 at this juncture appears to be Baylor freshman guard VJ Edgecombe, who sources say visited with the Sixers last week. There's an expectation that Philadelphia will bring in Rutgers ace Bailey down the road. I've not heard of a workout that Bailey has scheduled to date." Jake later followed up that they are going to interview ace Bailey. As well, he followed up also in the report. You can subscribe to a Substack that Tyrese Maxey was part of the meeting with Edgecombe.
Yeah, he flew up for the meeting, which
Yeah.
I think is an interesting thing to happen and an interesting thing to leak.
Well, so here is
Because we're firmly in smokescreen season.
Yes.
This is big smokescreen season. There's no reason
There it
whatsoever for anyone to be honest.
I was talking to MOC about it earlier. He asked me about the Edgecombe thing. And I was like, this isn't me saying, I think Jake Fisher has good information.
Sure.
100%. But there's no way that Daryl and Elton or whatever are like, we like Edgecombe the most. Let's call Jake. You know, like, and so a lot of this information comes from agents. That's the first thing to know. Mm-hmm. So agents want to drive up the value of their player by leaking some of these things. But also, if you're the Sixers and you think that one of the people you want to trade with behind you really likes Edgecombe, you want to make sure that like you are moving up the Edgecombe market and the Ace Bailey market by creating some vagueness as to who you may select. So it's not that I don't think they could take Edgecombe at 3. I think they could. You know, he's one of those guys. But what I doubt is specifically that this information came out because they like Edgecombe the best.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's totally fair. I have, you know, that you come in. Draft season is so long, and for the Sixers this year, it was very long because the season was over for quite a while. And so you go through waves with players when you, as you like watch more stuff, you read more stuff. Sam Vecini's very good draft report came out at The Athletic, which I encourage people to read. And you just kind of get like a feel for like, okay, you're taking in a bunch of information. You hear like, oh, this is actual intel from somebody about like, not just me watching his games at Baylor, but like his stats in high school and like how like what like the book is on him among like scouts and coaches and assistants and everybody and agents and all that stuff. And I have been of late. Edgecombe is so the kind of guy that I would love. He's
a grinder. He plays hard. He plays good defense.
Athletic 2-guard.
Yeah.
Powerful athlete, like sinewy, like just a kind of, physical specimen. I love these kinds of guys. I love them.
By the way, the other thing that happens is all of these players become a caricature of the traits that we've heard of them.
Of course.
So Edgecombe can't dribble. You know, Ace Bailey only takes hard shots. You know, and I think Edgecombe's become that.
Well, anyway, that second one's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's of course like confirming your prior's season. Like we're all in there. But with Edgecombe specifically, I've been hurt by this kind of guy too many times in the past that I think I protected myself by being like, I'm just not going to be able to count on him to become an above average offensive player. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of kept watching more and reading more stuff and looking at some stuff that about like his high school stats and how like he was a really good shooter in high school. He shot 47% of his catch and shoot threes. This is per Sam Vecini. 47% of his catch and shoot threes as a junior, 40% as a senior. The fact that him playing as hard as he does and being that athletic and also being like a high character kid from the Bahamas, then went to Florida to play high school ball. I think that matters. Like, I think that stuff matters.
Sure.
And we're watching the playoffs and watching the finals now. Kudos to my Pacers taking a game. I'm excited about the series still.
Against your Thunder?
Against my Thunder. I win either way.
Right.
But you watch these, like, any draft that happens right after a finals is in some ways impacted by the playoffs, the finals that just happened. And you watch these guys be so athletic and play so hard and be so physical on defense. And you think about a guy like VJ Edgecombe, and he could absolutely compete in these playoffs, in these
He's
finals.
never getting played off the floor.
The sort of me protecting myself was going like, how much do I trust the shot? Right. And off the dribble, I don't trust it. He's not a good shooter off the dribble right now, which limits his upside as the number one option. But he is smooth as a catch and shoot guy. The numbers back that up. He did shoot, I have it up here. I think it was 80% from the line, 78% from the line on 4.3 attempts per game, which is pretty solid.
Was he? I thought he was 69% from the line.
No, Edgecombe from the line was 78.2%.
Okay, all right, my bad.
And so the numbers sort of indicate that he is just, at the very least, an average to above average shooter right now. Even if the book on him is, him as the number one option. So even though I have hesitation because like he doesn't really finish with his left much, he doesn't go left, his handle is not like super advanced. I think floor VJ Edgecombe is an above average NBA player and like a pretty much guaranteed NBA starter. I think he's that kind of athlete. He's that kind of high character, high effort, high motor kid, and the jumper being good enough and the defense being like, I think he's going to make all defense teams. I think he's Jalen Suggs style, maybe not as football-y as Jalen Suggs, but a Jalen Suggs, Drew Holiday type of player on the defensive end. And I'll probably still have him behind Trey Johnson as far as high upside goes, but I think I'm going to have him at 4 on my board, Edgecombe.
I have some thoughts on that. The Rice Ricky Sanchez podcast brought to you by Barker Dog Beds. Woof. So proud to have Barker Dog Beds as a sponsor. Rebel has slept on a Barker bed almost his entire life. I would say for the last 7 years. He's 11 years old. And if you see Rebel, if you saw him at the lottery party, he moves around like he's 11 years old, moves around like he was 3. And I think part of that is the fact that he has slept on a real bed almost his whole life, and that is a Barker dog bed. If you go to barkerbeds.com/Ricky, that is barkerbeds.com/Ricky, you get your Barker dog bed, which is going to keep your dog healthier. I'll tell you about that in a second. You get your Process Pup patches. You send us a picture with your dog on the bed, official Process Pup. You can learn about it at barkerbeds.com/Ricky. But what I'm going to tell you is what I just said before, is that like, there are cheap dog beds that you can get that look comfortable. You know, everybody would love to sleep on a big fluffy pillow. But if you slept on a big fluffy pillow for enough days, your back would hurt. I promise you. You need a supportive mattress as a human. Dogs need a supportive mattresses as a dog. And it is your responsibility to go get that mattress. That is a Barker dog bed. Dog can't buy the bed himself. And when I tell you, you look at the price, you're like, it's a couple $100. I can get one for $40. You get what you pay for. Do you want a bed that's going to have a 10-year warranty? Do you want a bed that is going to save you money down the road by keeping your dog healthier and by the fact that you're not going to have to buy another one? Or you just want to cheap out on it? Like, you didn't get a dog to cheap out on it. So get a really quality product. Now, whether your dog, Rebel's 40 pounds, Scotchy's like 40 pounds as well. They're on a large Barker, I believe. You can get the Barker Junior, which is for tiny little dogs. You can get the XL, which is for giant dogs. They look great. They come in all different colors, all different configurations. But most importantly, it is something that is going to keep your dog healthier, keep your dog happier as well. As I said, there is a 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten, or they replace it for free. It is handmade in the USA. Barker dog beds. I think it's funny. You know more about these players than I do, clearly, because you watch college basketball. I keep coming back to the same thing on Edgecombe as well, too, is that, and maybe I'm scarred from seeing players that do not play hard all the time and getting beat on the boards by Josh Hart getting every rebound against us at fucking 6'4" is never going to, and he is that sort of player that you're talking about. Now, Josh Hart's not a good shooter, even though he made every 3 against us. I can only imagine if Josh Hart was a good catch and shoot 3-point shooter, he would be a massive problem, you know? So, but there have always been these players that are sort of defensive specialists in the NBA. And the big key is, can you shoot the ball when it is passed to you? And the other thing is that you never know which skills are going to develop over the years. It's not usual that a player doesn't have a great handle at 20 or 21, and then by 25 has a great handle. That doesn't happen all that much. But he is young. He could get better at it. And I would trust a guy who has a great work ethic to get better at things than a guy who doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, so when I was like going hard for Donovan Mitchell, like before the draft, I saw him as much more of like a 3-and-D 2 guard. That would be because he has such a long wingspan, crazy strong, athletic. I thought he would defend really, really well, and his offense, he is, bouncy enough to be a secondary creator and also get to the rim and cut and hit some threes because his 3-point shot looked good to me. I did not anticipate that he would become this good of an offensive player. He did not show that stuff at Louisville, and I did not anticipate that he would always kind of be average to below average as a defender because maybe it's because he's just like committing to the offensive end and not exerting as much effort as he used to on defense. But I think there is like some of that there, like as far as like a worker goes in Edgecombe and bounciness. And I'm excited to see
he's
what
an
it looks
awesome
like.
dunker. He's a fucking awesome.
And he's an
dunker.
awesome dunker. So is Mitchell. I mean, they're not like super similar players, but I think like as far as like growth go, like it does happen sometimes. And I don't know. I look at Maxie McCain, and maybe this bleeds into what we're about to talk about with the rest of the team, but having like 3 guys who play their ass off and also just like high character guys, it's maybe I'm becoming like a massive normie, but like it's becoming nice. And I would like to have one of those. I heard some rumors that like
being easy to be around.
Yeah, like just a good hang. I heard some rumors
The best
that
ability is being a good hang.
some people reached out to me being like, "Hey, Trey Johnson's kind of a prick," and I was like, "What does that mean for an 19-year-old?" I mean, I would be a prick if the offense at Texas was as bad as it was and frustrating. So take that with any number of grains of salt. But having a guy that everyone's like, "No, he's amazing," and he plays his ass off, regardless of circumstance. Seems like Edgecombe's the kind of guy. Also the same thing about Colin Murray Boyles, who I like very much. Have you watched much Colin Murray Boyles tape?
No, I watched.
He's a trade down candidate, but
YouTube
I was like, he's playing on an awful South Carolina team, and they just like he would make so many good passes to his teammates who would just like brick like over and over again, and he was always like high energy, positive attitude, playing his ass off. And it's like I mean, obviously I'd rather him playing on good teams, and hopefully he'll be on a good team here, but like he's not going to be a number 1 option CMB, but having a guy that is constantly trying, it just matters. I mean, it's once everybody's good in the NBA. We got like the effort level in a playoff series is really like what separates teams so much of the time.
Before we get to the Embiid thing, I actually do think this is related. Is somebody that, and I'll give credit to this person if we make this into a Ricky Holiday. I forget what I tweeted about, but responded back, "Hey, are we at the point where the current day we are as far from the beginning of the Ricky as the Ricky was to the last time the Sixers won a finals game?" And I was like, that can't be right. Whatever. And then I did the math. Okay, so
that's very close.
Yeah. So the last time the Sixers won a finals game, it is June 6th, 01.
Yep.
That is when the step over was.
Yeah.
The Ricky started, the first official Ricky was July 10th, 2013.
Wow.
So on August 14th, 2025, which is in 2 months, we will officially be as far away from the beginning of the Ricky as the Ricky was from the step over when it started.
Whew. That really
it puts a lot in
things.
perspective, man.
Yeah, it does.
It is terrible. So,
because the beginning of the Ricky to me is like, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time, but it's like, we've been doing it a while. The finals game, I was a child. I was a legitimate child.
Well, and the thought, like when we started the Ricky, it had been a long time since the Sixers won a finals game.
Or it had been a long time since the Sixers mattered at all. Like that's the whole point of like the Sixers internet was born out of this idea of like,
we're never good.
We're never good. We're never interesting.
Right.
And now we're too interesting, but still not good.
But still not good. So, so on August 14th, we will be as far away from the start of the Ricky as the Ricky was from the step over when it happened.
Jesus Christ.
Now, I tweeted about this. Our friend Mia Kong, the poet, and her friend Devin, who got her into the pod, were coming up with names of this day. Process, I don't even know how you say this. Process apocalypse. Sunk Cost Day is actually a very funny name for it. Bust Mitzvah, Bust the Process Day, Longest View in the Doom. Do we celebrate August 14th? Do we have a day for it? It seems terrifying that we are that far away, 4,417 days away from the start of the Ricky. Or is this something that we just let go quietly?
Oh, man. I think it's worth having a day of silence.
Yeah, day of silence. We promise not to do a podcast that day.
Yeah, it's a good thing to know, but yeah. I don't want to think about it for too long.
So we have been threatening to do this pod. This was a Mike idea. It's a good idea. Like in that the Sixers go into this draft with like, there are obviously several different options of what could happen in the future, but like the two more obvious ones are Joel Embiid is good next year. We'll call that normal Joel, plays 55 to 60 games, MVP candidate, blah, 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 blah. And the opposite of that is Joel Embiid.
Let's say even 45 to 60 games.
Okay.
Let's give it
productive year. Yeah. The opposite of that is Joel is never going to be a productive basketball player again.
Yeah.
Which is on the table.
Essentially having like a Greg Oden, Andrew Bynum level, just like fizzle out to never even being there, playing one game, etc.
So we would have, in this scenario, talk about building the team, knowing the answer to this question, which unfortunately the Sixers do not.
Well, they might.
Well, they might and not be telling us. Well, yeah. I'll tell you what, they will know today's. They wouldn't know the other one. They wouldn't know that Joel's going to play 55 games next year and be normal.
Yes, I think they would. They probably have some sense of optimism or confidence or something. They have once again not given any report about Joel since he had the scope in. It just feels like the Sixers are. We talked about this, but the Sixers are at a very big crossroads.
Yeah.
With the pick that they have lucked into by their own incompetence, that they both have a chance to compete in a very weak East, especially with Jason Tatum being out, and also a chance to completely rebuild with this new generation of, Maxey McCain and the number 3 pick. And they kind of have to do both with this pick, and the pick becomes kind of a fork in the road. It's not just the pick, but
it's everything.
But if you knew Joel was done, if Joel was saying, I'm, whether he's medically retiring or whatever it is, or you just knew like he's just never going to be the same.
Well, and I think, by the way, we should say we don't get the benefit of him medically retiring. I think because that creates options for them that they would not have from a cap standpoint. But
the question we're sort of digging in on the hypothetical, but like, if the Sixers know he's never going to be the same again, does everyone else? Like, could they get some value for him? Could they trade him for another like bad contract, but someone that would play more? I don't know. Hard to know that.
So in this scenario, and we'll do another pod where we do Joel's going to be good, is where
he's perfect. There's actually nothing wrong. It was 82 games.
Never have been anything wrong. We've won 3 championships. What do you mean this process day? We've won 3 championships.
That's right.
We proceed as if Joel's never going to play meaningful minutes again. We proceed as if we are not given the bonus of him medically retiring, but we know he's not going to play. And there are these questions of the number 3 pick, what you do with the players that are on the roster, Maxey, McCain, Paul George, Justin Edwards, what you even do with Embiid, whether you just let him sit there or whether you try to trade him. And I think, and fair to acknowledge going into this as the Embiid is not playing next year, is the Sixers also don't have their first round pick next year unless it's top 4.
Or their second round pick next year.
The try to be bad this year seems like a bad bet, especially because Utah was the worst team in the league, ended up with the number 6 pick. I think you almost proceed as if my thought would be, let's not count on getting that pick this year. I think it goes into the thinking of all of it.
So here's what I would do if if the Sixers knew, closed door meeting, Joel, a doctor, Daryl, and Elton are sitting there and going like, Joel's not playing this season.
Okay.
He's not playing it all this season, and he'll probably never be anything again. I would probably try to trade Joel for someone that you can get something out of. That the options are like Bradley Beal, which is not thrilling. But let's say you can't trade him. I'm not trading Joel and stuff because you need the stuff. We need the picks, especially without Joel. You can't. So
you're not paying anything to get off of him.
I'm not paying a premium to get off of Joel because what are you replacing it with? I'd rather keep those picks.
Also, if the doctors tell you he's never going to play again, trying to trade him, you would have to be honest with the other team.
Yeah, were they honest in the Caleb Martin trade? We don't know.
Well, and they got punished for it.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Little ding.
I think this would be a much bigger punishment, would
Sure.
be my guess.
Probably.
So I don't think... Look, we don't have to hem and haw over the...
Let's say you can't. Let's say you're not trading for him.
Let's say
nobody's trading for him.
Or if you're trading for him, you're paying something to get off of him, which
I wouldn't want to do.
Certainly not now.
So because they have no pick this season, no first, no second, I would very much try to play competitive basketball. I think it is very important for Maxey and McCain and Paul George and his future value in trades to play real serious competitive basketball and see what you got, see what you need. Like there's a couple factors in this, right? So Paul George obviously has this coming season and then 2 more. After this year, when that becomes a 2-year contract, that becomes tradable.
Unless he barely plays this year.
Unless he barely plays, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm saying you have every incentive to make the playoffs, let Maxey and McCain get more playoff experience, and resuscitate Paul George's value so you can trade him after next offseason when you have control of your own pick. So if next offseason you go, hey, this season sucks, we made this playoffs as like an 8 seed, it's not worth it. Maxey and McCain are still improving or whatever, but we're not, it's, you're still missing the gaping hole, whatever. Then you can trade PG in next summer, and when you have control of your pick and you're allowed to go like, all right, let's pivot off of this reality and tank the back half of next season and take advantage of a lottery pick. I also think it's valuable just to see Maxey and McCain play together. Like, you got to know these are your 2 most important tentpole players. You got to know what do you got there? What do you have? Is that a sustainable Dame and CJ type of thing that you could roll out there and win playoff series with? Are they going to improve enough defensively? What kind of player do you need to surround them with? I think all that stuff matters. I think this season was so torturous for so many people. And if you go all in on going, all right, we keep the pick if it's top 4 protected, let's suck and let's get lucky. I think that pisses a lot of people off. I'm not talking about fans. I'm talking about within the NBA, players, agents across the board. I think it is not what you want at this stage to just have an off chance at keeping a top four pick. I wouldn't do that.
Rights Ricky Sanchez podcast brought to you by Ethos Support. Now, I want you to think if you work for a company, you own a company, you're a decision maker at a company, I want you to think about your customer support on the phone, on the website, blah, 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 blah. And I want you to think if somebody had to use that customer support, and remember, people are only reaching out to you, not only, but most of the time when something's wrong. Would they talk about to other people how good that was? Like how they solved your problem? And if the answer is no, and it's usually no, you should use Ethos Support. You should go to ethossupport.com/Ricky, or you should call or text Blair at 240-593-2485. Because the answer is, if your customer support is not good enough to have people say, wow, what a good experience I had, then chances are they're not happy with it. And chances are when they're already unhappy because something didn't go wrong with your product, they're going to be even more unhappy. When you have great customer support, it makes people advocates for your company. I'll just name when I was in fucking Disney 2 weeks ago, I actually texted Blair. I said, everybody here is so nice. And when I went on their chat on the app, I was like, they answered every question. And it made me like the product better. Make people like your product better by having great customer support. Whether it's phone, Ethos Support can help you out with that. Whether it's chat, Ethos Support can help you out with that. Whether it's email, social media, Ethos Support. Here's what they do. You tell them, no matter how big or how small your business is, you're a small local business, you're a big, huge corporation, they put together a customer support team that people will brag about when they call you, when they email you, that will help solve problems. They work with you on what your product is and what these people will be doing, and they source it, and they put together a team that is going to make people advocates for your company. The good news is they can do this within 2 weeks. The better news is there's no contracts. So if there's any reason you don't like it, you can leave at any time. That's how much they believe in their product. Your product, your company is defined by how you deal with your customers. Make sure you're dealing with your customers the best way possible. Use Ethos Support. Again, having just an email address on your website, not good enough. Use Ethos Support. Again, go to ethosupport.com/Ricky or call or text Blair at 240-593-2485. That is 240-593-2485. All right. So you are trying as hard as you can. So do you want me to...
For this season. I think
season.
you get information, and then the following season, if it goes really badly, you can hopefully trade Paul George either in the offseason or during that season when there's a year and a half left on his deal. So
can I offer a counter to that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, because we'll go sort of piece by piece. We still have the draft pick, all that. I don't disagree with you that trying to lose in this upcoming year is a good plan. The flattening of the lottery odds, the fact that you're not going to keep your pick, the fact that I can't go through, I'm not doing another lottery party. Let's get rid of that. I think there are some...
Look, if this season ends in the lottery party, we're doing a lottery party. Come on.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course we're doing a lottery party. CJ's going to plan it. He knows everything now anyway. You have all the emails. Just send them again, CJ. You have all the contact. So there's some thoughts I have about what you said. The first thing is, there is a possibility that you could go into this year trying to be good, and Tyrese Maxey can't carry the weight of it, and Paul George has another year looking like the year you just had. And this does a couple of things. First of all, it bums us out.
Yep.
The second thing is, yes, you have an answer, but you also have devalued some of the products that you have, and you've also some of the assets you have, and you've wasted a year. I think it's definitely possible. Now, I don't think these things are likely, and all this stuff is, you're making bets. But to me, the biggest issue you have, if Embiid's never going to play again, is I don't see a direct path toward a best player. No. And I hate to do all this stuff again, but
no, of course.
Yeah. Now, it's fair to mention, Daryl previously, and we've talked about this before, when he had to rebuild Houston, never had a losing season in between. That's in 500 years.
Ownership wouldn't let them.
Wouldn't let him tank. So he had to do every year, he put one asset in the coffer, take another asset, blah, 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 blah. Now, they'd be perfectly legitimate to think this way. I don't think that the Sixers have the stomach to do that again, but to do the process again. But my thought is, I don't think Tyrese Maxey is ever going to be worth more than he's worth right now. And I would explore the trade market for Tyrese Maxey. Sure. Now, you could he's got $40 million in salary. You're going to get players back. You can have a team that tries hard, sure, and a team that, people can feel good about. But I also think, in sort of like a Drew Holiday type way, but I do think Maxey's more valuable, if there's a way that you can get a younger, rawer player and a couple of draft picks or a few first-round picks and sort of put yourself not just in position to draft a player with one of those picks, that's possible, but also be in position to go get a great player when they're available, I would do that. Or I would at least seriously consider moving Maxey.
I think you 100% have to consider it. Absolutely.
And
I don't think that's unreasonable. I just think I'm less concerned than you are that Maxey could have a year this year that tanks his value. I don't think that that's likely at all.
do you think he could get to a place where, because you mentioned Portland, like CJ McCollum got to a place where everybody thought he was good, but nobody thought he was that valuable.
Well, CJ is interesting because he's really not a point guard, and I do think that Maxey. Well, he is in the sense that he's faster with the ball than CJ is.
Well, that's fair.
I similar non like great creators, obviously, but I think Maxey or McCain will have value for teams, and you can say like, this is going to be our starting point guard.
George is more complicated. I wouldn't pay anything to get off George.
No.
I would neutral value George, or if there's positive value somewhere, I would trade Paul George. I don't think I would give up anything to get rid of Paul George. But if you're telling me I'm getting two players back that I think are not negative players, are, decent players, I probably do that. I'm less concerned about that and more concerned about optimizing Maxey's value.
Yeah, that only happens, I think, if Paul George has a really good year this year. Like if he's just like the average version of himself that he can be and is healthy and has like a fine
neutral value if that happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think then you can have something to play with next offseason, but I don't think anyone's doing anything for it during the season or this offseason. So the interesting thing to me, you brought up Houston and how Darryl didn't fully rebuild. Mm-hmm. It's, the NBA was dumber during that time. Like,
yes,
teams are just generally a lot smarter. Even a team like Oklahoma City moving on from James Harden at that time was just like a dumb thing to do. Trading Harden for like role players wouldn't happen in today's NBA. OKC made bad mistakes. And the people are just like more aware of like, oh, there's a superstar hiding under this rock, basically.
Right.
The thing about the pre-Hinkie Sixers, the Sixers that Hinkie took over, they were so pointless. They had so few assets to trade to start to rev up the rebuilding engine. Like they just couldn't trade.
Holiday is your best asset.
The only one.
Right.
The only one.
And he's a good player. We love Drew, but when that's your best asset, that's really saying something.
For sure. And they got two top 11 picks for Drew, which is pretty good value. Mm-hmm. But everything else was just like, the organization was so poorly run before then. And part of that was the Iguodala Bynum trade not working out. But they just were not a smart organization whatsoever. And so I don't think that Hinkie did some like brilliant thing, just going like, hey, this team has nothing. Let's start to build it up. And then like over time getting like, okay, future second, future first, whatever. And then Colangelo came in there and like, they were kind of back to average. Hinkie didn't assemble like a war chest of picks the way that Sam Presti has in Oklahoma City. And then Colangelo comes in and like pisses it all away and gives it up and everything. But
and got his son the job.
I think, as we pivot to the next part of this conversation, which is like Quentin Grimes, I think no matter what, you got to sign Quentin Grimes. You can't let guys walk for nothing.
Yeah. And you need tradable contracts. You need good young players. He'll be all of that stuff.
Absolutely. And then you can see if, hey, was last year a fluke? Was last year real? Could he scale his game down while being more effective and efficient? That's interesting. And if it's not a fit, then you trade him, and you trade him for something. So I would be trying to sign Quentin Grimes because I think he makes you a better team this year, and he's also someone that you can trade in the future. Yabusele is interesting to me because we saw last year that if he's your 5, your defense is just not going to be good. He's just.
By the way, they might not be able to, if you're keeping, and we'll get to the pick because we haven't discussed that yet. Yeah. If you're keeping the pick, I don't think you can sign Yabusele. Yeah,
you may have to move. Yeah, it would be different. So
yeah,
I would probably let Yabusele walk and sign a center that can actually play center, that can like split time with Bona in like a Brook Lopez type of way, or, who else is a free agent? Like, I mean, I'm not thrilled about it, but like Clint Capella, like that kind of a level. Mo Wagner, if he's healthy, like a fine player that can maybe, either be a lob threat or a floor stretching big, and see if that helps this year. I mean, it's not like this isn't a thrilling option. We want Embiid to be healthy. Like Embiid being healthy
is the worst option.
Is the better version.
Yeah.
But I think you're totally right in thinking that you explore trades for Maxey. You see what you can get for him. If you can get a ton of future picks, then you go for it. But because the Sixers don't control their own pick this coming 2026 or 2028, because that pick then goes to Brooklyn.
Now that's the year we have the Clippers pick, right?
That's the year we have the Clippers pick, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have another Clippers pick. We have a swap in 29, and we have another Clippers pick in no, that's it. It's pick in 28 and swap in 29. Yeah. So yeah, it's they're just not in a great place where they can go like, let's be bad for a long time because we don't control our picks 2 of the next 3 years. So they're going to have to use some moxie in like getting out of this and finding like that next superstar. And maybe it would be someone like a Jimmy Butler who like wore out his welcome in some other place. And then all of a sudden he comes here and like the system around him is good enough. Like whether that's like, I don't know, John Morant in a couple years or somebody that's like risky, somebody that's like dicey, that you go like, if this person figures it out, they have all the tools except for like the situations haven't been right or they haven't been mature enough or whatever. So that's what it boils down to. But as far as the third pick goes, I don't really think either path makes that much of a difference. I think the only thing that opens up if Embiid's done is if you want to take Malawach, and I'm really not interested in taking a non-generational big this high in the draft. I think it's almost always a mistake. Marvin Bagley, Mo Bamba, James Wiseman. There's so many like guys who can only play one position. Unless they're Joel, like so good at so many things that you think they could like win an MVP. I'm not taking a screen and roll guy and a lob threat this high in the draft. I'm just never doing it. It's not interesting. Would be a helpful player? Would he anchor your defense? Absolutely. But you can also get that guy. I would so much rather just trade up from 35 into the like late 20s and draft Ryan Kalkbrenner, who's a center out of Creighton, who's ready-made.
Is that a real guy?
He's 23,
okay.
He's 7 foot. He can shoot from the outside. Had a really, really good college career at Creighton. But like those kinds of guys, you look around the league, like nobody, like Jalen Duren was taken with the 12th pick. That's the 12th pick. That's not the 3rd pick. Derek Lively, mid-first round. Dan Gafford was an early 2nd round pick. Like those kinds of guys that are just solid, standard, like give the ball up and dive centers, which Malawach is. Even Gobert, I think you're hoping that Malawach is a Gobert type, was taken at the end of the 1st round. Like there's not a real good track record of drafting center only guys that can only do center stuff, non-unicorns that can only do center stuff. Drafting that high, I wouldn't do it.
The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast brought to you by Adam Ksebe, the official realtor of the process. Ksebe, based out of Long and Foster and Bethany Beach down there in Delaware. Here we are in summertime. You're probably, like me, fucking idiot, paying thousands of dollars to rent a shore house for the week, right? You reach out to Ksebe, who is the king of the Delaware beaches. How about here's a plan. You get your own shore house, you rent it out for most of the summer, those people pay your mortgage, and you have your own shore house to go to when you want to go. Think about fun weekends, nice little relaxing weekends, maybe in the fall, or the winter as well. It's yours. It's going up in value as well, but you need a partner. Adam Ksebe is that partner. It's not easy to go buy a shore house right now. It's not easy. It's not a lot of houses. There's a lot of competition. That's why you need somebody who knows what he's doing. Yes. Adam Ksebe, Ksebe, knows what he's doing. He has helped Ricky listeners find houses in Delaware. If you want to sell a house in Delaware, maybe for a massive profit because you bought it 6 or 7 years ago, and now you're like, shit, this house I bought for $600,000 is worth $1.5 million. Use Ksebe for that as well. You need somebody who knows the ins and outs of all the different shore points. Bethany Beach, Lewis, Rehoboth, Dewey, whatever it is, Ksebe will help you. And you want to buy a house or sell a house, PA, New Jersey, wherever it is, Ksebe can't do it specifically, but he will be your resource. He's your first call. Because what he'll do is find out all about you, all about what you're looking for. He will interview his realtors, all the people he knows, find the right one to you and pass them along. So you only need Ksebe. It's the only realtor you need. 302-864-8643. Write it down. Remember it. Or just go back to this part in the pod. 302-864-8643 is a cell. Adam at processrealtor.com. Adam Ksebe, the official realtor of the process. You want to talk about 3 now? Like what you said it doesn't matter much. I guess I just, listening to the way, I agree on the whole, doesn't matter too much.
Because you got to take the best player available no matter what. You just have to do it.
But the way that you talk about the level of player and your optimism for the player at 3, I wonder if it doesn't even create more of a motivation to, if you can trade down and get a future first.
Yes.
To add to the coffers.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm using coffers right, but
sure.
I think if again, you're hunting for a star, having 2 picks probably better than 1, especially at number 3 in this draft.
If you can get an unprotected pick from, I don't know, New Orleans or Utah or Toronto, I don't know, and you can move down from 3 to somewhere in the like 6, 7, 8, 9 range, that's very valuable to do, I think.
Especially in this draft.
It would be a somewhat counterintuitive thing and somewhat of a ballsy thing to go, okay, Embiid is done. We know this. Here's an opportunity to take another franchise guy at 3. And we are so certain in our evaluation that none of these guys that are available none of these guys are either that guy or none of these guys are materially better than somebody we could get, closer to the mid lottery. That would be a ballsy play. But if you can get us, if you think like, hey, I mean, it's hard. I think Edgecombe's not making it past 4. I think Knippel's not making it past 5.
Knippel's not making it past 5? You don't think?
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think so. I think 3, 4, 5 in some order will be Edgecombe, Ace Bailey, Knippel.
Okay.
That would be my guess. I don't know who makes those picks.
You think Knippel
they
goes
might
ahead of Trey Johnson?
I think he would, yeah.
Really?
I think he would, yeah.
Interesting.
I really like Trey Johnson. I think he's special with the ball in his hands. I think he's got. I think his level of like hitting shots off movement and getting to his spots and hitting shots, and putting up the percentages he did at Texas with the athleticism testing at the combine and the length, all that stuff. My concern with him is like I really worry about his bad rebounding numbers. I think that's just indicative of other bad traits. It's like, if you're not going and grabbing the fucking ball, like, where I have some motor questions for you.
What are you, JJ Redick?
I'm hopeful, like with the guys I like, because I like Trey Johnson, like you can sort of say, hey, Texas was such a bad offense, people were miserable there. There's not a lot of spacing, and so it's understandable that this high level prospect would, give less than consistent effort on the defensive end, and he's as a freshman, whatever. But I'm making those excuses for him because I like him. So the rebounding thing is really the biggest concern to me. It's like if you have a 6'10" wingspan, you should be getting more rebounds, like even by accident. But yeah, so if there's somebody that they like, if they think it's Trey Johnson, if they think Trey Johnson is the guy, and you want to trade down to 7 and get a future first from New Orleans, like then that's a ballsy move for somebody that needs to maximize chances at getting a superstar. But I think it might be worth doing.
Is there anything else from a team perspective you want to go over aside from the final question we were talking about, is how is Joel remembered as a Sixers player, which is, I think, pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I would trade Oubre. I would try to get, trade Oubre to like Detroit, to a team that could just absorb him and get like the 37th pick in the draft. Then maybe you package 37 and 35 up to like somewhere in the mid 20s.
You would definitely keep Eric Gordon though, right?
Yeah, for sure. You want to keep Eric Gordon, but then you get some, somebody in the mid 20s, and that's all of a sudden like, okay, this is like sort of a next generation building block type player, because 35, because of how many guys stayed in school, 35 is like close to being like, it's not as good as it normally is. The 35th pick this year. There will be guys I like there available, hopefully, but if you can package 2 guys and move up a little bit into the 20s, then you can definitely get somebody that I think can play, and then have them on that rookie contract. Yeah. And then you try to, there's not much you can do. Like, there's just not much else you can do. You're going to give Justin Edwards a contract.
Yeah.
You're going to try to, I wouldn't trade anything to get off of Drummond. Like, you start to just value your picks more in a world where Embiid is done. And you start to play when can we start being aggressive with using our cap space to lure picks in? Like, can you play that game for a little bit? But because of Embiid and George's contracts,
becomes very difficult.
It becomes difficult, yeah.
And I'll say again, I said during the J. Kyle Mann pod, I talked about trading Maxey. To get me to trade Jared McCain, it would have to be,
in this scenario, you can't.
The sexiest offer you could possibly give me.
Yeah.
He is the last guy I'm trading at this point.
Oh yeah, if Embiid is done, then you got to be like, hey, we have a lottery ticket here.
Yeah,
like, and we got the first, I don't know how many numbers in a lottery ticket. We got the first 4 numbers right.
Yeah.
So I'm not trading this guy. That's a funny game show. If like it's you, hey, you win the thing. Do you want to risk it?
Well, it's like
you want to cash out, deal or no deal, I guess, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you try this here because last year was awful. You want to see McCain.
There's no benefit to not trying.
There's very, very little benefit to not trying. You want to see what McCain can do. You want to resuscitate Paul George's value. If you, without Embiid, can make the playoffs and be like what the Clippers were a few years ago when they lost in the first round, but were like that fun team that like Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell team.
Yep.
Then you can see a superstar go, I could be in the middle of that, you know? Mm-hmm. Oh, look, they're having a good time. Those guys play their asses off. Philadelphia is a team that needs a star, and I can go be that guy for them. Like, you kind of need to appeal to people again. Because last year, I mean, it worked with Paul George for the past few years, and then last year really set us back. So I think that does matter when you're going to be looking for who is our number one option. And I also, last thing, would consider trying to trade Nick Nurse to the Knicks or something.
Yeah, please, Knicks. I want to dunk on the Knicks for the trying to get every coach in the NBA that they want. I actually don't. You never know who's going to say yes.
No, why not?
You know, yeah, I don't. There's a lot of people like. It's funny, like a lot of the complaining about firing Thibodeau is like, well, this is the furthest the Knicks have been in 25 years.
Yes.
Well, also that's not the job. The job isn't to get the Knicks further than they've been in 25 years. The job is to get where your expectations are, and like that's nice that that's where he's gotten them, but that's not the gig.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I think it is kind of the gig.
No, it's not.
Finishing in the final, finishing
years.
in the Final Four is like that has to matter. That has to count for something. Like
it doesn't mean you get to keep your job.
I think I'm sure Tibbs grinds on people, but I'm sure that there was frustration behind the scenes, and maybe they weren't as happy as all the podcast and the Nova Knicks stuff was making it seem. But I don't know. He's a good coach, and they got to the conference finals. If we got to the conference finals, I promise you, no matter who our fucking coach is, it could be Doug Collins, I would not be campaigning to fire the coach.
If we were a favorite in that series,
if we beat Boston and advanced to the conference finals,
and then lost to Indiana, who was, by the way, under 500 at Christmas, and we were a favorite to win that series, heavy favorite
at Christmas, they became a better team afterwards.
Yeah, but the Knicks were a heavy favorite to win that series.
Sure, but I promise, I'm telling you, if we beat Boston, this is a promise from me to you. If we beat Boston to get to the conference finals, no matter what happens, I promise I will not be campaigning for the head coach to be
fired. The coach. Okay. What if we won 66 games that year?
Then that's even better.
Okay. All right. How do you think? So this would be the last that Joel is never playing for the Sixers again. And in our scenario, we're not even trading his contract. So his contract is there. Therefore,
he's just Ryan Howard.
Yeah, still part of the conversation.
Yeah.
He is. Who is the Eddie Curry? He's the Eddie Curry contract. So I've seen over the last several years these players that were like really divisive for one reason or another in their time, like people soften on them. Iverson, people have a very different memory of Iverson than how it was, at the end here. Now, at his peak, everybody loved him, but he was pretty polarizing. Ryan Howard, Donovan McNabb. I think eventually people would feel that way about Joel.
Yeah.
But
Schmidt,
I think
Schmidt is like the most clearest.
Yeah. Schmidt is the same way. Mm-hmm. But I do think for a very long time, he would just be seen as a missed opportunity. Like, I think the view on him for years would be pretty negative overall. I think I understand it. Like, I wouldn't have a negative view of him, but I do think he would be remembered as great, but man, like, it just never happened. And I don't think it would largely be because of the injuries, though it would be part of it. I think people would think about like the other stuff. It would be the not coming up in big spots, the seemingly, not being the hardest worker in the world. I think that would be a big part of it for a while, I think.
I think let me do how it would be and then how I would think about it.
Yes.
How it would be treated is, I think, as a little bit of a joke. Like, this guy was never in shape. Mm-hmm. Always got hurt. Could never count on him. Like, always failed in big moments. And that would suck. That would really suck. I think it's pretty similar. Like, Donovan did not get a post-retirement glow.
No, I think it took a while.
I don't think now.
No, he does. I mean, like, his number got retired, and he got a standing
Sure.
ovation.
I mean, I'm not saying like the team will obviously retire Joel's number and everything, and it'll be like part of it. But as far as like when people talk about Joel, if this is it, then they will talk about it like a little bit like, all bark, no bite.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Just never got us there. They'll probably call him a loser, like that kind of thing. And I think him and Donovan had similar. I really loved Donovan when he was here. Obviously, I was a kid. But I really loved Donovan when he was here because, like, they were so bad for so long before then. He comes here, 3 straight NFC Championship games and a Super Bowl. He gets a lot of the blame. They never got him a quarterback. They never got him a wide receiver until T.O. And when him and T.O. were there, that was, like, unbelievable until, like, personalities and weirdness got in the way. And then it ended.
T.O. got in the way.
Yeah. T.O. But he was awesome.
He was.
He kicked ass when he was here. And so I think that's similar to Joel, right? Like, the organization failed Donovan by making James Thrash and Todd Pinkston be the wide receivers for the bulk of his prime. The organization failed Joel by, bullshit, all of it. We don't need to talk about it. But like the not getting a backup center that could stand there and not be a minus 50 in a minute and a half, and just lack of athleticism on the wings and all the stuff, and then Simmons falling apart and missing on draft picks and blah blah blah, and then it became like, well, when the things were in place, like, you still didn't do it because you weren't quite healthy enough, or you couldn't put it together. So I do think there's similarities there. I think that he would sort of be seen as a joke nationally, which he is now, and then publicly as like sort of a bum kind of thing, the way people talk.
I think part of why Donovan suffered as well is because Donovan, Donovan and Philly from a personality standpoint, not a great match.
Sure. Donovan is closer to like Carl Towns.
Yeah, but like now we have Donovan on the afternoon show during football season every week, and like now that he's like older, he seems to like have a good attitude about it, or much better, and I think people are better about it. But like, I would be curious to see how Joel would handle it from a.
I think he's going to disappear.
Yeah.
I don't think Joel's going to be around.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think that's fair. Yep.
But how I would think about Joel, it's going to take me some time because like I do still feel like the pain and disappointment of like the opportunities that we didn't get to see because of performance and injuries are really still so raw. And so it'll take me probably, if we hear this offseason like it's over, it would take me some time to get there. But eventually I will look back and be like,
oh my God, he was
one of the best players of his era, and one of the best players to ever wear a Sixers uniform. One of my favorite players, a truly singular combination of like two-way ability and also personality, and a real imperfect character, but one of the most like unique types of people that I've ever rooted for. So I really hope that's not the case. I really don't want this to be the outcome. It would be such a bummer to end it like this and just to go like, okay, we need a star again and let's go hunting for them. And
just give us one more year.
I just need one. The East is just so open, dude. It's so open. They just gotta deliver a little bit. We got to get a little lucky. We got lucky at the lottery. We got the 3 pick.
We got lucky.
But I really would love for Joel to matter. The city put so much time into this thing, and to just never get a full chance with everything like operational would be such a massive disappointment.
In case you haven't heard, it's been as long from the beginning of this pod to now.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. By the way, it looks like Tyrese Halliburton's injured.
Really?
Well, he was limping the other day, and one of those good online doctors said that where he has a tape looks like an Achilles injury.
Oh no, Jesus Christ!
Yeah,
that would suck.
So, all right. Well, next one's going to be more fun because
this is going to be great.
Joel's awesome.
You would still take the same person that you would have at 3. You would take them in either scenario.
Yeah. I'm best. Like, I don't think there's anything. I'm not like I'm pretty out on Ace Bailey. I'm not like, well, if we don't have to be good next year, I'll just take Ace Bailey. Like, right. I think at 3, whoever it is, you take the best player, whoever you think the best player is.
Yeah. I mean, like it's hard to know. It's just hard to know what they think. Cause I would say like Trey Johnson and Ace Bailey probably have higher ceilings than
VJ Edgecombe.
Con Kneppel and VJ Edgecombe offensively. But I think also significantly lower floors. Like, you're getting an above average starter with Edgecombe, I think.
Yeah.
And I think you're probably getting at least above average offensive player in Kneppel as a supporting player. Both guys cut. They're great off the ball. They move. They try hard. They would be positive like motor efforts impacts on the team. That would be an additive experience.
And by the way, it's not just everybody has a ceiling, like it's also the likelihood that the player is going to reach the ceiling. That's part of the calculus there as well.
Yeah. Well,
all right.
We'll do it differently next time.
Yeah. Be a happier one this weekend. We will talk to you this weekend. You done with TTP?
Yeah. Lick face.